Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Rob. Nice to see you. We could do this two ways. You should be able to see my screen. Let's make sure that we got that. Hi. It's nice to be here. Wow, there's a million zillion questions. Make sure you can see my screen. You can hear me okay. And I'm super happy to be here. We could do this two ways. First way we could do it is I could do it, the regular trading educator way, which is like I'll just basically tell you a bunch of bull. And then we could, maybe that would be interesting, or we could do it the way that everybody else has been doing it so far. Like they show you what they really do. And I think I might even take that a step farther. What I love about Rob Hoffman and Stephen Bigelow and the other guys here is they show you the way they really do it. And I've known a lot of these people for a long time. I love Stephen Bigelow and I love that candlestick stuff. And I just appreciate how just like personable he is, and he brings it down to earth. And I want to continue in that. I don't want to waste your time. I want to make this a good experience. So we are going to talk about using missed pivots to trade with the trend, to find really big trends and even smaller ones that you can trade during the day. But also, I want to also maybe talk about some non-traditional stuff. And by that I mean kind of in the same vein and moving along with this excellent event, show you what I'm really doing. Not just show you what you can buy or whatever, but like Stephen just did, show you what he really does. And that's going to require me today to make some confessions and to tell you some truths that are not really easy for me to talk about. And the first is about the time that I lost $51,220 in a single trade. And the sad thing is, I could have picked a bunch of these stories. There's not just one story like this. Has anybody here ever lost any money trading? Has anybody here, have you ever lost money trading? I'd love to see your comments in the comments window. Yeah, okay, so there are some honest people here. Yeah, so one guy says some. Yeah, so, okay, right? I'm not any different than, we're the same here. I'm just maybe like speaking on the webinar right now, but I've had some shizzy experiences. Patrick, that's a big one. Yeah, okay, so some of you haven't lost very much, but all right, I feel like I'm in a company of friends now. This is way easier for me. Like I can take a deep breath and let it out. Here's the time I lost $51,000 in a single trade. This is the US dollar, Japanese yen. I'm primarily a currency trader. We're going to talk about stocks and futures today also, but I'm primarily a currency trader, and I'm going to tell you a story about that a little bit later on. This is a totally obvious trend, right? Oh, it's a trend. And some people say, oh, there's there's a three white soldiers pattern, or there's like a Trump bottom, or I don't know, whatever. Like, there's all kinds of patterns and shiz like that going on. But this is a completely obvious trend. At least that's what I thought. This is back in 2001, beginning of 2002. So I've been trading for about 2 years. And this totally obvious trend. So I waited for a retracement, just like I read about in Alexander Elder's Come Into My Trading Bathroom, or whatever book it was that I was reading. You look at the book, and then you look at your chart, and then you look at the book, and then you look at your chart. You're like, is that it? Is that the thing? Anyway, so I bought it. I bought a trend on a retracement. And some of you might be saying, oh, that's an Elliott Wave triple formation of danger. Or that's the Star Wars lightsaber pattern, or that's the Fibonacci 900 retracement deal. Or, it might be obvious to you, but I was 2 years into my trading career, and I was a total dummy. I still am a total dummy, but I was even more of a total dummy. Maybe it's obvious to you that this thing was over, but to me, that was a trend. And because that was a trend, I was doing the right thing by buying that. So I bought it. I didn't just buy it. I bought it big time, right? I said, well, this is, I watched this whole trend develop over the last year and a half or whatever. I'm getting in on this shiz. And so I bought it on the retracement. Strangely enough, I was up like $5,000. It's the biggest win I ever had. And I didn't move a stop to break even. I didn't trail my stop. I didn't use the, whatever, like, okay, I was a dummy. Right? I was a dummy. We've all done this before. Don't think you haven't done it. We've all done it. And I let a really perfectly reasonable trade become a loss. Because why? 900 reasons. Because I got greedy, because I wanted it to break the highs, because it was a trend, because I wanted to learn to ride my winners, because some jackhole in some book said that I should ride my winners and cut my losses short and all that kind of garbage. And I was trying to do all the things that you were supposed to do, but what I ended up doing was losing money. And I lost money for a couple of reasons. One, because I inappropriately identified a trend. Basically, I perfectly identified a correction. And today I'm going to show you how I could have maybe taken, that's like, oh, let me get in my time machine and go back in time. But I'm going to show you how I would do things today, given the same opportunity. Actually, given the same opportunity, I'd probably make the same mistake. But anyway, we're here in a webinar and I can say anything I want. I became a zombie while that trade was going. I found this picture this morning. I thought it was kind of cool. It's perfectly, I remember this image from like Plants vs. Zombies. My son and I play this on the Xbox sometimes. But, I became a zombie. I was awake at night, walking through the house. I was a perfect example of everything that you shouldn't do. I was holding on to a losing trade. I was holding on too long. Anyway, the only reason I say this is because I just want you to know I'm not the smartest person here. I'm not the best presenter here. I'm not even the best trader here. There's like some of you that are attending the webinar that blow me away. I'm just a regular person trying to make this work. That's all it is. And I became a zombie, and I know what that's like. And it's, sometimes in these presentations, it's easy to, it could be easy for me to start bragging or try to brag, because I could show you anything I want on my screen right now. I could make any bold claim I want to make. But I'm not going to make a bold claim. I'm just going to tell you I've had some really bad experiences as a trader. And hello, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Rob. I'm so happy to be here, and I really appreciate Jeanette inviting me and Hubert inviting me on. I've known Hubert and Jeanette for a long time in this business, and I've always really appreciated the way they do everything. And I'm honored to be here, and I hope that I get to know you a little bit better today, and you get to know me a little bit better today, and we have a good time. And we'll make some time for some questions later on. I am the worst trader in the world, however. Like, discretionary trading. You're like, okay, then you pull the indicator up, and then whatever. I'm the worst in the world. I'm the worst trader in the world. And I have 17 years of experience to prove it to you. That if you put me in front of a bunch of charts and a bunch of patterns and a bunch of whatever, I'm at some point in time, I'm going to make a terrible decision. Mistakes that I've made include overtrading, right? I know no one here has done that before. Especially at the beginning of my trading career, I would take a trade, make a mistake, and then get in on another trade right away, try to make it back. Revenge trading. And then I would take 7 more trades, and then I would take like 700 more trades. And I would just be, like my finger would just be smashing into the computer box, right? I'd just be banging on the computer, making like 5 million trades. Not the best way to go about things in the whole world, is it? I traded huge trade sizes at points in my trading career. Thought I picked a bottom or picked a top. He who picks bottom gets a stinky finger. I think that's what the Japanese rice traders used to say. But anyway, I traded a huge trade size. I thought I picked a winner, and what I did was I just was picking my bottom. I was just being an idiot. And, it's almost like if you could build a service where you looked across the universe of traders and you found the trader taking the biggest trade size that they had taken in the last year, and you just basically traded in the opposite direction of that banana head, you'd make a zillion dollars. I also traded like a crackhead, like I needed money for drugs, right? When I started my trading career, I was trained as a lawyer, but I would rather hang myself from my garage door opener than practice law, so I decided to be a trader, which is equally difficult. And I needed money. I needed money to pay the rent, and I just traded like a total dorkwad. I traded like I owed money to the mob, like frantically trying to accumulate profits. I traded like it mattered what I looked like to other people. And one of the biggest mistakes that I made during my trading career was that I worried about what people would think of me, what my family would think of me if I was a trader. And then when I started doing webinars after I had some success, or the podcast or whatever, I decided that eventually you were going to find out who I really was. You were going to know who I really was. You were going to be able to see my mistakes. The internet doesn't tell lies. Well, of course it tells lies, but the internet reveals everything. My trading performance should be public, which it is. You should be able to see all the live trades that I make. and I should stop worrying about what I look like to other people. Never had more success as a trader than when I stopped worrying about what I looked like to other people. Okay, here's a risk warning before we get into the meat of the stuff. Most traders lose money. I know it's fun to think about making a lot of money. When I started trading, the first thing I thought about was what kind of car I was going to buy with all the money I made. Most discretionary traders are terrible, despite what you might think. I know 4 discretionary traders, 4 who trade for a living. I know at least 10,000 traders by their first name. I mean, I've traveled all over the world. I know 4 people that are buying and selling on the chart and whose account statements I've seen who are trading for a living. 4. Most discretionary traders are just terrible. They're just awful. It's just so hard. Trading involves substantial risk of loss. I'm an example of that. The results I'll show you today are not typical. Then don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. This is a serious business. A lot of people get addicted to trading and then they lose money that they were supposed to spend on like bread and milk. A loaf of bread, quarter milk, and a stick of butter. If you know that, if you know where that comes from, let me know. All right. I've done this the hard way, in other words. But today we're going to talk about the harder way and the easier way. Does that sound all right to you? You ready to talk about some technical analysis and some trading shiz? If you're ready, let's do it. I am super happy to be here, and I'm really excited, and I really appreciate your time. And I'm going to get to the heart of the issue right now. We're going to look at some charts. We're going to do all that stuff you like to do. I'll show you the way I used to do it, and I'm going to show you the way I do it now. This is me. I do my own trading conferences now. I got kicked out of... So I used to do a radio show. Okay, I was on the radio. I was on AM radio across the United States on Business Talk Radio. And then I called somebody a human body part on the radio, and I no longer have a radio show. And to fulfill my desire and need to talk to other people and converse with you because I love you, I do my own conferences and other stuff like this. This was London, the London Traders Conference. We had about 400 traders come to London. I have a problem with the time-space continuum. That was about a month ago. It was freezing and my hands fell off. This is me speaking in Spain. If you live in Spain, or if you live near Spain, or if you live on planet Earth, come to the big conference called the Forex Day in Spain. My shirt says, "I'm only here for the ham." There is nothing in the world like that Spanish ham. I go here every year to the Forex Day conference, and I speak at that conference in Madrid. It's the greatest thing ever. I have the best time. It's me and some of my trading friends. We're going to talk about a couple of these people today. I don't know if you would be interested, but this is my friend Scott. He's making $2,000 a day, and I'll share with you how he does that. He's just totally awesome. Okay, get back to the slide presentation. Now I have a website. So, okay, I trade. I'm going to show you my account, but I also have a website. We're going to put up a link about it all later. And, I think maybe later on if you're interested. I don't know if you're interested. We should talk about how much, what my live account is making. Am I just here talking to you, or do I do this? I don't know if you would be interested in that. Would you be interested in, if you don't want to, we don't have to do it, but do you want to look at my live trading account later on? Okay, we should do that. I also do a podcast. I've done 800 episodes of either radio shows or podcasts over the years, and I now do a podcast called Trader Radio. It's on iTunes and SoundCloud and Google Play and Stitcher Smart Radio. This is at episode 81. There are 550 episodes of the Traders Podcast and many other episodes of the radio show and other things all around the world. So that's kind of what I do. Let's talk about pivot points. That's what we came here to do. That was a really long introduction. I'm going to remember to shorten the length of that introduction. Never, I don't care. Let's just proceed. A pivot point is yesterday's high plus yesterday's close plus yesterday's low added together and divided by 3. They said algebra would never come in handy, but I found a way that it does. As a side note, I'm still behind in high school algebra. Never caught up. Don't intend to. A pivot point is yesterday's high plus the low plus the close added together and divided by 3. There are daily pivots, which I always color blue. There are weekly pivots, which I always color green. And there are monthly pivots, which I usually color pinkish or purple. Not that you need to know what color I make them, but I just thought we'd add some color to the presentation. Here's a daily pivot. A daily daily pivot, once it's drawn on your chart, doesn't move. No move, no touchy. It does not move. No moving the daily pivot. It's not a dynamic indicator. It doesn't change form. It doesn't warp into something like the character Maui from the movie Moana. Watched that movie last night with my daughter. Thought it was touching. I almost cried. Hard to admit it, but I just did. A daily pivot doesn't move. It's a blue line that shows up on your chart. The great thing about a daily pivot is you don't need to buy any special indicator in order to get it. All of your charting platforms can produce a daily pivot auto-magically. And you don't have them for your charting platform. I'll show you a little bit later on with a link that Jeanette helps us put up on the screen, how you can get a copy of daily pivots for your charting platform pretty easily, plus some other indicators that I'll talk about today. That was pretty boring, but this is a Euro British pound chart, 60-minute chart, and that's a daily pivot in blue. Most daily pivots are touched by price. This daily pivot was touched by price. This was touched by price. This was touched by price. This was touched by price. In fact, I'll share with you later on, about 80% of all daily pivots are touched by price. If I was going to do a television show, I'd do one like Touched by an Angel, but it would just be called Touched by Price. And I would be like this angelic visitor that would come into your trading office when you're just like sitting there in your underwear trading, and then I would share with you the daily pivots that had not been touched. I have no idea why I just said that. Let's move on. Pivots are a standard feature on most charting platforms that don't suck donkey tails, okay? If you don't have pivots on your charting platform, your charting platform sucks. A missed pivot, and in particular a missed daily pivot, was not touched by price on the day it was created. So this is a missed pivot point on Apple. You'll see here that there's no candles touching this daily pivot. That means it's missed. So a full day passes and there's no touching of there's no touching of the daily pivot. That means it's missed. And you can't know that a pivot is missed until the day is over. And the day is over at the end of the day. And your end of the day is different than my end of the day because you don't live in the same place that I live, unless you live in Arizona, in which case you should join me for breakfast sometime before I move to Houston. This is really cool because a missed pivot is an early warning sign that a trend is coming. Now, 7 years ago, Gary Fluker flew out to my office near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, when I lived out there. And we sat down. He was a hedge fund manager. And we sat down and we did some research from Bloomberg. And we looked at missed pivots. All we did for like 3 days was look at missed pivots and eat Mexican food. And we found out, statistically speaking, you can just, scroll through your charts or spend a weekend, whatever. 80% or more of all daily pivots are touched by price on the day they are created. That's a pretty great indication that something cool is going to happen. 80% of all daily pivots are touched by price on the day they're created. This is the famous painting in the Sistine Chapel where the big man upstairs is reaching out to touch Adam, who needs to put some clothes on. And it looks like that God is reaching out for Adam. He's actually reaching for a daily pivot. Okay, that's not actually true. But if I were to make a movie about trading, it would be called The Pivot Code, and it would star Tom Hanks as a Harvard-trained technical analyst at the Harvard Business School, and he would hang out with some fancy lady with a French accent, and they would go hunting for, okay, whatever. Let's look at some real examples of pivots. This is the Euro-Canadian dollar once again. Why do I use the Euro-Canadian dollar currency pair? It actually, 85 to 87% of the time, it will hit the daily pivot on the day it's created. Meaning, most days, it will hit the daily pivot. Touches the daily pivot, touches the daily pivot, touches the daily pivot, and so forth. But in this example right here, it misses the daily pivot. It's not touched by price on the day it's created. Neither is this one. Either one would be a good example of what I'll share with you today. And either one of them would produce a nice trade. But let's just focus on the one here that's circled in red. Circled in red. Okay, let's move on with the pointer. Here is Tesla. Maybe the world's most valuable company 10 years from now. Maybe the world's least valuable company 10 years from now. Misses a daily pivot. Circled in red. Here is the 10-year T-note futures. I have no idea who here trades futures, but if you do, more power to you. I just wanted to pull up a futures chart and show you that you can plot daily pivots on a futures chart, and they're awesome. They're fantastic, and I love them with all of my heart. And what we want to do is trade based on the first missed pivot in a series. Now, sometimes there are two missed pivots in a row. So for example, here on the T-note futures, we have a daily pivot that's missed right here, and then the very next day, we have a second missed pivot, numero due. For those of you that speak Italian, sorry, I didn't know you didn't speak Italian. This daily pivot was missed also, but we only trade the first one. We don't worry about the second one. Once you get 2 or 3 missed daily pivots in a row, it's a sign of a reversal. And today's presentation is brought to you by trends, not reversals, so we're going to shut up about that right now. Here's corn mini futures. I don't know if that means that it's futures on those little mini corn on the cobs, which are so delicious, or if it's just meaning that the corn contract is mini. I also get the feeling from the disappearing candles that this has like 0 volume, but I just wanted to show you that on like penny stocks or stupid futures contracts that no one trades, like, I don't know, like cattle tails or beef cheek futures or whatever, that there are missed daily pivots on just about everything. You could chart home prices with missed daily pivots. You could do anything you want with missed daily pivots. A lot of people think I'm saying miss pivot, like the Donald Trump presents the Miss Pivot Universe contest. It's not what it is. Missed daily pivots is what we're talking about. I use a 15-minute chart for stocks. So if I'm looking at a stock, I don't look at stock. Okay, honestly, this is one of those things that somebody tells you in a presentation that actually is dishonest. I don't ever look at this, all right? I don't look at stocks ever. And I'll tell you why later. But if I were, like if I woke up and I couldn't remember who I was, and I woke up thinking that I was like a stock trader, then I would use 15-minute chart for stocks. But when I say it like this, I use a 15-minute chart for stocks, it sounds like I wake up in the morning, scratch my bottom, get a cup of coffee, sit down in front of the computer, and look at the 15-minute charts on stocks. I don't do any of that stuff. I mean, I scratch my bottom. That's the only thing in the sentence I just said that I actually do. I don't ever look at stocks. I'm looking at them for you because I love you. I also use, if I'm looking at the currency market, a 60-minute chart. Now, I do look at the currency market from time to time. I'll share why in a little while, why I hardly look at anything at all anymore. This is, I just started looking at random stocks. I literally just started pulling up random stocks. This is called Grana y Montero. Buenos dias, Grana y Montero, on the sábado gigante. And this is a missed pivot. Hello, missed pivot. That is an indication that there's going to be a trend. These small moves that we're looking at, they're like bread and butter moves. It's like for making money every day. Here's how to take these trades. Okay, a disclaimer, I don't take these trades. I'll tell you why I don't take these trades. But if you want to take these trades, they're friggin' awesome. But I don't take them. It's not what I do. I'll show you what I do later, but some of you like to trade stocks. I'm here for you. You're not here for me. So here's a missed daily pivot. Now what I would wait for, what I would wait for it, I would watch this price go up, and then I would watch this fall back down, and then what I would look for is a retracement to the next day's pivot, and I would buy it, and I would ride that trend for as long as my heart could take it. I could also use that, I love Stephen Bigelow, I could use that J-hook pattern that Stephen Bigelow does the next day, and on the very next day, and I could use that J-hook, because that's what it's doing. On a shorter time frame chart, that mofo is J-hooking the shiz out of price action, which I think is a technical term first coined by Alexander Elder. This is corn mini futures. Also, I'm not sure if it's the little mini corns or if it's like candy corn maybe. So price misses the daily pivot. It retraces. I could buy it at the daily pivot or when the full J-hook shiz goes down, and then I could buy it for a gain and hold that trade for about 24 hours. But basically, this is a 24-hour trade. All the trades are closed within 24 hours. And why is that? Because most people are drunken monkeys and banana heads. Here's Tesla. So Tesla misses its daily pivot. Let's call that day one. And on the very next day, it falls down to the daily pivot. And then it probably does one of those J-hook things. I love that I came right after Stephen Bigelow's presentation. That's fantastic. And then buy it. And of course, I'm showing you a fantastic example because I want you to think that I'm smart. And there are examples of this that don't work. Here's 10-note T futures. T minus blah, blah, blah. So we would wait for the daily pivot to get missed, and on the very next day, wait for a retracement to the daily pivot, sell the ever-loving shiz out of that, and then hold it for 24 hours. I tried to hold it for 24 hours one time. Had to really go. Okay, but despite the fact that this is cool, that's cool, that's kind of fun, right? Whoa, this is good, this is enjoyable. I like this. You could buy it here. You could put a stop loss underneath a swing low. You could put a stop loss underneath yesterday's pivot for a catastrophic stop loss, and then you just hold it for 24 hours. That's it. It's not more complicated than that. You want to make it more complicated than that, then be my guest. Put my service to the test. That's fine. I don't care. Do whatever you want. It's pretty easy. Don't make it complicated. You make it complicated, everybody gets hurt. That's fun, and that's for daily trading. But here's a dirty little secret. All giant trends start with a daily pivot. I know, it sounds magical. But check this shiz out. It's pretty fantastic. Let's look at some examples of big trends. Here's American Realty Investment Incorporated on the weekly chart. That's a pretty great trend. Falls from $11 down to $4, even farther because this company was garbage. Started with a daily pivot. That blue line you see at the upper left-hand side of the screen, yeah, that's right. That's a daily pivot. That is a shiztastic daily pivot. And the first sign that American Realty Service Investment whatever was a garbage company, that just a garbage stock. Maybe it's a great company run by God-fearing individuals who love their families. The first sign that this is just a piece of garbage stock that we should sell the ever-loving crap out of. We should buy a put option on that with a couple bucks we have laying around in our couch. The first sign that that was the case is that it missed a daily pivot as it was falling. Here's BP Prudhoe Bay, blah, blah, blah. I just pull up random crap because it doesn't really matter what you pull up. It works. And I found this trend that just sucks the life out of anybody that bought this stock. I'm sure Bill Ackman bought this stock at the high. Ha ha. That's a joke at a hedge fund manager's expense. Little inside trading humor there for you. Oh, I forgot you don't speak Latin. Okay, so this is a missed daily pivot at the very top. All giant trends begin with the daily pivot. But how do you get into one of these trades? Yeah, that's what we want to know. That's the stuff we want to know. Do you want to know how to get into one of these trades? Maybe not. Don't say no, because then that'll ruin my whole feelings. Okay, now let's do it. Let's talk about how to get into these trades. And in order to tell you about how to get into these trades, I need to tell you a story about what I call Knoxville divergence. Oh, you know what? I think the K is silent. Knoxville divergence. At the high of High Crush Partners got crushed, ha ha. At the very high, there is a Knoxville divergence line on top of those candles, those candles. And there's a missed daily pivot that comes right after it. There's Knoxville divergence. And you're saying to yourself, I don't know this Knoxville divergence thing. What magical thing is this? Well, 4 years ago, I drove across the country, the United States of Trump America. And I drove across the country and I wrote a book. And I wrote a book called Man vs. Market. And I slept overnight at the homes of 20 traders who were attempting to trade for a living. And I stayed with them and their families. And I interviewed them and their families about what it was like for one of the family members to try to trade for a living. I never published the book. It's sitting on my computer drive because there's so many personal stories that people started saying, I don't want you to share the story with me. So that book will never get published. And that trip was a complete waste of my time, except for this. I sat in the old Java City Coffee House in Knoxville, Tennessee, right inside those doors you see on the screen. I sat right there where that human is sitting. And I was sitting in that chair, and I was drinking a cup of coffee, and a woman walks into the coffee shop, and she looks at me, and I look at her. And you have that, well, I don't really know what that's like because it's only happened to me like 1 or 2 times in my life. And she walked in, got a cup of coffee, and left. And I went back to working on my indicator, and I was trying to build an indicator that showed divergence, the disagreement between price and an oscillator. And then she came back in, and she looked at me again, and she walked up to the counter, and she got like some napkins or something, and she walked out and looked at me. And I thought, was that kind of look? And now if I'd had a technical analysis book, I could just look up a chart and figure out if that's the right look. And then she walked in one more time and got a thing of water, looked at me and smiled and left. And then I had this idea. I realized something. You know what I realized, right? You know what it is? I realized there needed to be two types of confirmation before I traded with divergence. I never talked to her again. She drove off in a convertible VW Beetle with her dog. I don't know. I never found out who she is. I don't really care. But I did get an idea that I needed two types of confirmation for my divergence. So I built what I call Knoxville divergence, and it shows up as a red line above your candles or below your candles on your charts. And I'll show you at the end of this presentation. I'll give you a link. Jeanette will help me give out a link where you can get it for free. It doesn't cost any money. It's free. It's a divergence indicator. I will show you how it's built in that presentation later on, but it shows a red line on top or a red line below, and it's an early warning sign of a change in trend. And what I realized is I could build these two things together. I could wait for a Knoxville divergence to show up to show me an early warning sign, too early in fact, that the trend was going to reverse. And then I could wait at the bottom for a daily pivot to be missed as price climbs upward on a weekly chart. And then I would find a gigantic trend. And it works over and over and over again, and I call that Knoxville divergence. Now, I have a whole training that we'll talk about later, and I'll show you how that's all done. But there's a warning that all trading systems suck eventually. Now, let's take a minute, and let's go over to my charts. And let's just look at some of the examples. I just pulled up tradingview.com, and I pulled up just a list of the volume gainers for the last few days. Okay, so I'm just going to... here's one. So here is Chesapeake Energy, and there's Knoxville divergence. It's too early. It's an early warning sign, but it's too early. It's too early again, but it gets my attention. Then it's too early again, but it gets my attention. And then at the very bottom, it misses a daily pivot, and then it starts to climb. I don't even know what these companies are. There's HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprise. I don't know why it's not. I don't know. Who cares? There's no divergence there. So there's no, this does, look, all trading systems suck in some ways. That didn't predict jack crap. SWN, Southwestern Energy Corporation. Look at that. At the very bottom, there's a bullish Knoxville divergence, and it misses a daily pivot, and it starts to climb. It goes from $6.17 to $13 or whatever. That's a double. Here's Vail. We just looked at that. Here's ENB. I don't know what the hell ENB does. Enbridge Incorporated. There's Knoxville divergence, and then it misses a daily pivot on the weekly chart. Here's FCX, Freeport. I flew my drone over their headquarters last year. Why did I tell you that? I don't know. Knoxville divergence. Too early. It's an early warning sign, but it's too early. I wait until it misses a daily pivot, and on the weekly chart, after it misses a daily pivot, I just buy the shiz out of that, and that thing just goes nuts. I'm basically just showing you random stocks that I'm just showing you random ones. Here's NVIDIA. NVIDIA is on a rip trend, right? But look what just happened. Just recently, NVIDIA printed a Knoxville divergence and then missed a daily pivot as it dropped. What does that show me? It shows me that NVIDIA wants to make a correction. Nothing can go up like this for that long, and not forever. That's an early warning sign that NVIDIA is going to reverse. Kind of fun, right? It's kind of an early warning sign method for finding out if a trade is coming. Now, it's not hard to tell that a pivot is missed. No! It's so easy. It's so easy. You look on the weekly chart for the divergence, and then you just drop down to a 60-minute chart to see that the daily pivot was missed. And there it is. So you wait for the divergence on the weekly, and then you drop down to the 15-minute chart if you want, and you look at the daily pivot. It's easy, breezy, lemon squeezy. Super easy. Alexander says, what's the reason to use your new divergence-based approach? Is it getter than many others? Is it better than many others? No. I'm going to talk about that later on, Alexander. It's a great question. But no, nothing I do is better than anybody else's shiz. All trading systems eventually break. I mean, they all do. Let's go back to the slides that I was on. Just take me a minute, and please enjoy your music while your party is reached. There we go. All trading systems eventually suck. Even mine, drawdowns or losing streaks are inevitable. Some people have told me in the past, I would like some help in eliminating losses from my trading system. I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting thought. I would like to have the power of teleportation. And I would also like to be a 45th level druid wizard in real life. Some things that we want, even some things that we want really badly, are simply impossible. And eliminating losses from your trading system, that's actually impossible. But some really good things are totally possible. Can I tell you one last story and then we'll get to some questions? Do you mind if I tell you another story? I mean, I don't have to tell you the story, but it's a pretty good one. I mean, it's like a pretty great story if I just do say myself. All right, I'm so happy to be here. I hope you're having a good time. I really love traders. I love being here. I'm so grateful to Jeanette and Hubert for inviting me to this. I really don't belong here. These other speakers are so much better, but I'm going to tell you one last story. For 16 years, from the year 2000 until last year, I struggled as a discretionary trader. Remember earlier I told you I was going to tell you something embarrassing? Okay, I'm going to take a drink of water. Hold on. The first time I talked about it on the podcast a bunch, but for 16 years, I struggled as a discretionary trader, up in the middle of the night, doing great for 2 years and then losing a bunch of money, having a great time making like $100,000 in 1 month and then giving a ton of it back. Between the years of 2004 and 2008, I made at least four, but it could be slightly bigger than that, about $4 million from the magic carry trade. No, that sounds like a lot of money or sounds like I'm bragging or whatever. I don't have anything to show for that. I wrote a book about it, Adventures of a Currency Trader. I wrote a book about doing that. And I wrote a book about how I used interest rates, conflicting interest rates around the world. And I built a magic trade. I built a trade that was totally hedged in both directions. This is what I would do. I would take a Japanese yen trade and I would buy it in one account. And then at the very same moment, I would take a Japanese yen trade and I would sell it in another account. And I was perfectly hedged at the price, basically at the price in the middle. But on this account, I got paid interest to hold the trade. And in this account, because I played the game to win, and I got myself I got myself and everybody else that wanted it, I got the greatest deal in the world. I didn't have to pay interest on holding the hedged trade. So I made interest risk-free for 3.5, 4 years. And I just put every single dollar I could put into it. And I went all around the world. I actually traveled literally all around the world. I traveled to, oh my gosh, I was all over the place. I had 1 million miles in a year, 1 year, and I traveled everywhere. And I taught everybody I could find, everybody. I wrote a book about it and made it totally public. And I called it the Magic Carry Trade. And I basically had a risk-free hedged trade. That's not really trading, right? That's just managing money. That's not me being a genius technical analyst. It's nothing to brag about. I found a trick. I found a game. I found money on the street, and I had the stones to trade it. And then I wrote a book about it, and then when the financial crisis hit, I gave a ton of that money back as a total banana head crackhead. I wasn't actually a crackhead. I don't like drugs. I mean, I smoked pot for the first time last year, and that was enjoyable. But I have no history of doing drugs, so I just say crackhead, but it's just a joke. So this blew up, and this didn't work anymore, and it was really depressing, like super depressing. I lost the primary source of my income, and my marriage failed, and trading got really hard. Hardest it ever was. And I was already a public speaker. I'd already written a book, and I was already doing webinars and stuff, so it was embarrassing. And at those times, I wouldn't share my trading performance. I would only share it when I was doing well. I mean, that's the truth. So I made this funny joke. And then trading got real hard, and then Michael Scott says that's what she said. That's the funniest show ever. Anyway, 3 years ago, in an effort to simplify my trading, I automated all of this. Now, 3 years ago, I was still trading for a living, and I'd make all of my money. This is ridiculous, but I'd make all of my money in like 3 weeks of the year. And the rest of the year, I was churning through trades and giving back profits and struggling and trying out new things and downloading a new indicator and building a new indicator. And then 3 years ago, in an effort to simplify, I automated everything. All of it. I just automated my trading system. Everything I showed you today, the divergence stuff, the pivot stuff, I built a robot. And I called it the Finch. Not Darwin's Finch, although that turns out that it's a really great analogy for it. But I called it the Finch because it adapts and because it's like a machine. And Jenny Finch, the softball pitcher, is like a machine. She's like a badass. And so I called it the Finch. And then promptly, I didn't run the robot. I gave it away to my subscribers and my lifetime members and my trading family, but I didn't run it myself. I didn't run it myself because I didn't believe that it would work. And I was worried about that it would blow up or it wouldn't work or whatever. And then last year on my podcast, I interviewed Scott. Scott Haywood lives in Brisbane, Australia. And Scott wrote to me and he said, "Thank you for giving me your robot last year when I became a lifetime member. I now make $1,000 a day. I was made redundant at a job, which is in the West called fired." And he said, "I'm making $1,000 a day." I said, "I'm going to interview you for the podcast, and I'm going to find out how you're making $1,000 a day." Turns out he was running the Finch robot. And I started to feel like a total dummy. You can find this episode on Trader Radio if you go to soundcloud.com/Trader Radio, or just type into Google episode 6, Scott who makes $1,000 a day with a trading robot, or don't listen to it. I don't care. I realized at the time I was interviewing Scott that I was an idiot. I could make a living from trading, but it was the most stressful thing I could ever imagine. It was harder than it... And now I want to make a Michael Scott joke every time I say the word hard. It was just way too hard. And I realized I was a total idiot. So I turned the robot on, and I stopped being a total idiot. Now, why is this embarrassing? It's embarrassing because, first of all, I'm admitting to you that I was a shit discretionary trader. I admitted to you that I struggled with it for years, and I could make a living from it, but it was the hardest shiz I ever did, and it was embarrassing when I had a loss. And so last year in August, I decided that even if I had to start small, I would turn the robot on, and I would use my own robot. And today, as I mentioned at the beginning, I told you I was going to say some stuff that was non-traditional. I do zero discretionary trading. I got off the hamster wheel. I gave away all my trading books. I made a list of books that I really wanted to read, and everything I showed you today is now done automatically, and I don't do it at all. And my life got real good, real fast, because I stopped struggling. Now, that probably doesn't work is a completely reasonable comment. And I absolutely used to say that myself. I used to say the robot can't actually work, and I built the damn robot. Like crazy, right? Being a discretionary trader is about having control. Being a discretionary trader is about proving that I could do it. Being a discretionary trader was about showing that I could do the work and feeling like I had to do some work in order to justify the income. And for 17 years, that was a great idea. For 16 years, it was a great idea. But it was exhausting, embarrassing, and difficult. I used to say, computers can't think creatively. They can't make up new strategies. They can't factor in the news. All very true. But computers can't get impulsive. They can't break the rules, and they can't act like a degenerate gambler who smokes crack 50 times a day. So now 8 of the students, including Scott Haywood and Bill, are making at least $1,000 a day. Actually, let's just check in with Bill. I did this morning. I checked in with him. I have a little tiny group of traders with larger accounts. And let's see here. I got up to $1,240 this week on the robot. Bill was at $7,000. And he works a week or two a month. He says, "I don't need to work at all now to pay our bills, but if I can bank a week or two a month worth of income for another year, I can probably increase the trade size some more to have an income cushion and increase capital to have a larger flash crash, blah, blah, blah. Rob, you could have a Ferrari instead of a Porsche on $1,200 a week." He was just helping me feel better because I'm the teacher and he's the student and he's doing better than I am. And I was kind of embarrassed. 20-plus students are making about $500 a day. And I'm not saying this to brag. Actually, I don't have anything for sale for you today. I'm going to give you the indicator away at the end of this presentation. So I'm not saying this to brag. I'm not even the best student of my own trading methods. And I'm not even telling you that this is the only way to trade. I'm telling you that this is the only way I'm ever going to do it ever again. And there simply came a day when I decided to stop learning about trading, and I decided to start learning about making and keeping the money that I made. If I could get back my 4 largest losses, I'd have, I think, $3.5 million just from the 4 largest losses I ever took. I mean, I made a living, but I was giving, some years where I made a lot of money, I'd lost a lot of money in the middle of the year and had to get it all back. I used to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I used to trade until all day long. If I was trading past noon, everybody in my life knew I was having a bad trading day. I don't know if that ever makes it, I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys. But I spend time now with my family because the robot is running. That's my son, Isaac. He just turned 12. I love that kid. Adopted him when he was a month old. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It's my daughter, Olivia, who unfortunately looks exactly like me. We did a sleepover last night and watched movies together. And now I'm getting married in March because I had time to actually, talk to someone like a human being without checking my charts. And I talk with my trading family all day long. So I have a little trading family. We talk in Slack. Phil this morning said, "Hey, Rob, you'll be pleased to know I haven't taken a discretionary trade in weeks. I just enjoy watching the robot do its thing. And rather with fiddling with trades, I tinker with the robot to improve its reporting and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. Robots have been working well for me, blah, 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 blah." This is my trading family. I spend all my time just talking to them. Now, I got a bunch of stuff for you, and I want to tell you about it. I want to take some time for questions. I will make time for questions, because at this point in the presentation, people start asking me 9,000 bajillion million questions. And I'd love to hear how your trading is going, and I'd love to answer your questions. I think this is the link, Jeanette, before we get to questions. I think that's the link that we have for everyone. And shockingly, I think I did it correctly. I'm not sure that I did it correctly because I do a lot of things the dumb way, and that's possible. So we're going to get into questions now, but I think this is how you can stay in touch with me. You can go to robbooker.com/trade, and I will give you the Knoxville Divergence Indicator. I'm going to make you watch a presentation about it first, but then it's free. The indicator is free, and you can buy stuff from me. Yes, I want you to give me your money. All of your money. No, I want you to have the indicator for free, and then you can just tell me to go F off. I don't care. That's fine. I just want you to be successful. I don't care about all the other stuff. I want you to do well, and I want to share with you stories of people who have been successful. You'll also get on the list just by being at this webinar. I'll send you an email on Monday. I'm going to get your email address because I presented, and then I'm going to send you an email, and I'll because you're here, I'll send you a link to even get a demonstration copy of the robot and see if it works for you. And also, we'll give you some training and all the other stuff so you can go back through everything I just shared with you. Okay? So I want to make sure that, number one, you get the indicator. Number two, you'll be on the list so you get more info. You can remove yourself at any time. And I'll give you the indicator, and I'll give you a demonstration version of the robot so that you can stay in touch and ask more questions, because I know a lot of questions come up. But we do have time for questions here, and I'd love to take them. So someone says, I was trading forex and was going to go long the pound New Zealand, but a trainer sent wait for the missed pivot to be hit, but it didn't, and then it went up about 400 pips. Yeah, so you don't have to wait for a missed pivot to be hit. You just trade it on the next day. Someone says, how much is the robot? I'm not really here to sell you anything, so I'm a little bit reluctant to talk about that. And because I'm actually going to give a discount to everybody that's here eventually, but it's less than $300. Will it work for options? No, I don't trade options. Options, that's a great subject for someone else that's an expert today to speak about. I don't trade options at all. Eileen says, thank you. You're welcome, Eileen. Lobster Thermidor. That is the greatest name ever. Your parents are friggin' awesome. What platform does this robot work on? The Flying Serpent platform. You tell me your real name, I'll give you the name of the platform. Just kidding. MetaTrader 4, TradeStation, and NinjaTrader. I'm happy to help you, you lobster thermidor. Why don't you come over for dinner? What's the minimum account size you need? $500. Will it work with interactive brokers? No. How big of an account do you need to generate $1,000 a day? All right, so Bill's doing it, Joel's doing it, Ellen's doing it, Nacho is doing it. Those are the 4 that are coming to mind right now, but I can't remember. Okay, no less than $50,000. That's the smallest account that's ever done $1,000 a day. All the people making, or all the guys making $1,000 a day in forex. Yes, none of the women are. Don't understand your question, but no, guys and girls, men and women. Come on, get with the program, dude. It's like 2017. No, not everybody's making $1,000 a day. Some people are making $1 a day. When I turn the robot on, we didn't look at my account. What am I even thinking? This is my account. I'm up to between $200 and $300 a day. So I'm not at $1,000. I started off making $1 a day, and then I've been increasing my trade size every week with my own robot. Mind you, I should be trading this much more substantially because I built the damn robot. Yeah, and also I'll send you a link on Monday with your email. I'll send you a link to my FX book account where my results are public. All my trading is public. Let's go here. So I can share that. I'll just share this with you right now. Well, it's not really easy to share, but my results are public. This is all. I should unlock this part that shows you everything. But yeah, this is a live account, real money at Oanda. This is my live account. Like, that's my account number. Don't steal my identity. That is my real account number. So, okay. Enjoyed your presentation, says Andrew. Andrew, you're badass. I love you, man. Please explain a mispivot. Did it already. Watch the recording. Does the robot work searching through the S&P 500? Yes, you can actually trade the S&P 500 with the robot. Or you could just use the system I just taught you, and you could do it yourself. Which broker do I use for FX trading? Oanda. Which trading accounts does your robot hook up? My FX account at Oanda. Do you not have to pay interest when you sell the Japanese yen? You do. It's called swap. Will it be all right for day trading futures? Yes, it will. Do you need a good computer to run your robot? Yes, you do. Thank you so much for giving out everything. Thank you, Teresa. I love you. Why Metastock is not free? I don't know. I'm not talking about Metastock. I was talking about MetaTrader. Metastock is differente. MetaTrader is free. It's free as sunshine and clean mountain air, so you don't have to worry about anything. Would the system work with Thinkorswim? No, Thinkorswim does not allow for robotic trading. Sorry! Pivot, if it misses, you trade the next day for 24 hours. Yes! Will you have a Thinkorswim version in the future? No. Thinkorswim does not allow robotic trading. Will it work for Sierra charts? No. But I do have indicators built for Sierra charts, and you could just do it discretionary. You could do it manually, right? Is this a scalping system? No. Why not Thinkorswim? Oh my gosh, I'm not in charge of Thinkorswim. I don't own the company. Talk to Thinkorswim. I don't know why they don't allow robotic trading. They don't allow it. It's not my fault. Hey, Rob, you've been the best speaker I've listened to. Straight up. Whoosh! Boom shakalaka. Your $20 is on the way. What platform do you use? MetaTrader. VWAP and daily pivots are often confluent. I love volume-weighted average price. I love it. Will it work on Thinkorswim? Oh, dear Lord. I cannot believe you just asked that question. Get in touch soon, says Andrew. Andrew, I love you, man. It's been a long time since I saw you. We should talk. Is it only for Forex, or could it work for stocks? Everything I taught you today works for Forex and for stocks. The Knoxville divergence could work on options. You could be looking at stocks, find a trade, and then using options to trade it. Is it working with stocks just as well? Yes. What's my worst drawdown that I ever had? Over $1 million. But now I don't have that never happens anymore because I'm not being a banana head monkey trader. How much of the account size is at risk for $200 a day in profit? That is an excellent question, Tony. On a daily basis, at the most, I could have a total drawdown of between $3,000 and $5,000. And and then those trades come back around over time. Is the robot for forex and futures trading only? Mostly, but you could do stocks. Very good presentation, says Brock. Very good comment, said Rob. Thanks, Rob, says Steven. You're welcome. Think script for Thinkorswim. Still doesn't trade automatically. A robot. Sorry, Jerry. I enjoyed it as well. Thanks, Rob, says Travis. Jerry, talk to me, man. Send me an email. If there's a way to do it, I will program the shit out of it for you. I will be the first one in line to do it. You let me know a robot programmer that can program it for Thinkorswim. Don't just say think script. There's no way to do it. We've tried it. But if there's a new way to do it, I want it now. No. Fantastic. I use Awanda. Does it run on Thinkorswim? Oh my gosh. That came in again. Great webinar. You're a great person. How good of a computer do you need? A really good computer. Better change your password. You're awesome. Fun presentation. But all those trades on your account are negative. Oh, yeah. Okay, here. So these trades are negative on my account. Here's what happens. All my performance is public, Mark, so this is not a big deal. These, the robot trades, and then some trades are open for 1 minute, some trades are open for 1 hour, some trades are open for a few days. But it just processes through those trades on a regular basis. So yeah, it has to hold some trades for up to a week sometimes. Can I do stocks with this robot? You could, but I wouldn't recommend it. Does it work with a $30 account? No. Do you, am I running out of time now? Oh yeah, 2 minutes left. Can you day trade the peso? Yes. Looking forward to hearing from you. Good job. A little crazy. Indicator. Blah, 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 blah. Now there's 9 other questions. You should just, oh man, I have another presentation about my favorite trading books of all time, but we don't have time for that. So